Hey there, this is Ed from Max Automation. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how you can automate the client reporting process. So if you are an accounting or CPA firm or a marketing agency or any other type of service-based business, this is going to be extremely important as the client reporting process, it's a very common and important deliverable that you have to share with your clients, of course. So the client reporting is really relevant to any, especially B2B service businesses, because it shows the great performance and the great work that you and your team are doing, right? So, and I know that this is a very time consuming process because you have to get data from different places. You need to update the data. You need to put everything into a database. You need to create dashboards with charts, KPIs, etc. And not only you have to do this once, but you have to update this dashboard reports every single month, for example, if you do it on a monthly basis, right? So that's why I'm automating this process. Um, it's really important so you can focus your time and energy on, for example, analyzing and giving recommendations to your clients based on the data, right? So I just, as always, I like to put this on a kind of simple like mind map so we can walk through this together, okay? So these are the different steps that you can go through when you think about automating this process, right? So the first one is data collection, right? So again, if you are trying to automate the client reporting process, the first one is definitely gathering the data that you want to add to the report, right? So you need to understand what are the different sources of data that you need to consider to get the different data points that you need, right? So you can integrate with like internal data sources. It can be a CRM, it can be a marketing automation platform, it can be your internal system, your project management system, for example. It can be even like spreadsheets, right? Or PDFs. So you need to map and really understand what are the different internal data sources that you have to use, and also the external ones. So are you going to have to integrate with the client's platform using API or any other type of external platform that you're going to need to integrate either via an API or need to extract the data to a CSV, for example? Or are you going to integrate, for example, with Google Analytics or any other type of third-party tracking tool like that, right? And then again, you need to identify how you're going to integrate with those tools and to extract the data and how you're going to do that, right? So are you going to use APIs? Are you going to integrate like with big, large like databases where all the data is so you can extract the data that you need to add to the report? So how are you going to do that? Are you going to create like a custom scripting to do like some web scraping, extract the data that you need, even for those platforms? Of course, that if you can integrate via API is always better because it's more reliable and it's more scalable. But if the API is not an option, then you can do like some web scraping, for example, to make sure that you are able to get the data, right? And also make sure that you're going to have a great data accuracy. So make sure you're getting the right data, the data from the right place to avoid any kind of errors there. That's also important. And that's also an important reason why you should automate this process. Because if you are doing all of that manually, if you are manually like copy and pasting the data points, then kind of it gives room for like human error there during that process, right? So when you automate that, it's better actually for data accuracy as well, right? Okay, good. So then, okay, so the first step is data collection. Once you have the data, then the next part will be to understand what kind of report format, structure, or template you're gonna use, right? So if you have a template already, that's great. Otherwise, you're going to need to create a template. Like you can have a monthly view, you can have a quarterly view. If it's depending on the type of data that you are getting, you can have different templates, and then you can use those different templates accordingly. And then, of course, sometimes you're going to have client-specific template. It's usually not the case, but let's say that you are an accounting firm and you work with many different types of businesses and industries, and maybe you can have an industry specific type of template or reporting template. So that can happen as well. So then you can adjust in accordingly. And of course, you need to know what are the different KPIs that you need to add to the report, right? Because you're getting the data, but sometimes the raw data is not enough. You need to put together the data to generate the different KPIs that you need, right? And that's important to understand the KPIs from your service, the KPIs for the industry and for the client specifically, right? So that's a great way to think about the KPIs. And then, of course, what kind of reporting tool are you going to use? I'm going to use like some like Power BI, Tableau. I'm going to use Google Data Studio, what's now called Looker Studio. Which tool are you going to use to do that, right? So if you run everything inside the Google Suite, then of course it's usually easier to go with the Looker Studio option. If you are on the Microsoft platform, of course, Power BI is another great alternative. Okay. And then you can start having the custom dashboards there that you can set up, because once you have those ready, those setups, it's going to be a lot easier to make sure that you update those accordingly, right? Okay, so once you have the data ready, you have the report template and tool that you're going to use ready, then you need to plan ahead and know how you're going to deliver the report to your clients, right? So what's going to be the frequency of the report? It's going to be monthly, weekly, quarterly, whatever. And then how are you going to deliver that, right? So are you just going to send an email with the link to the report? I'm going to send like just let's say a text message, or how you're going to deliver that. And of course, that's another part that you can automate as well, the messaging. If you don't have like a client portal, for example, where the client has access, you can just send it by like email or text message. That's fine. But you can automate that as well, right? So you can automate everything. So you can automate from the data collection to report generation to the email, for example, that can be automated. So you don't have to keep remembering to send the updated report to your clients, right? So you can do that automatically. And of course, make sure that every time you deliver the report, every time you generate a new report, the client's going to have access to that report, right? So that's another important piece. And when you think about automating the client reporting too, the client reporting process, I'm sorry, you always need to think about the different, let's say, automation tools that you can use, right? So you can use automation tools like Zapier, like Power Automate, like Make, like Init, Pipedream, and some other ones. Those are great. And you can integrate those other pieces of the puzzle to those two, so you can better automate the data collection, especially. Then again, as I mentioned, you automate the data collection, you add the data to a database, and then the reporting tool is going to be linked to that database, right? So let's say that you are using Google Looker Studio. Once the database is updated, then the Looker Studio dashboard is going to be updated automatically, right? So that's why selecting a great reporting tool is really, really important. And again, even if you are if you are trying to scrape the data from different platforms, websites, etc., it's important to also use the automation tool to make sure that the data will be added there back to the same database that you are using with the other data sources, right? And also you can update to the client portal tools, like even if you are using SharePoint, if you are in the Microsoft Suite, SharePoint, OneDrive, or if you're in Google, you can use Google Drive, etc., right? And this is just kind of a recap, right? So this is how you can start thinking about this automation. So again, thinking about the different data sources that you need to consider to start gathering the data. Then you need to define the KPIs. You need to define the reporting template that you're going to need to use alongside the tools that you're going to need to use for that process. Because once you know what are the data sources that you need to get the data from, what reporting tool you're going to use, then it's going to be a lot easier to select the automation tool that you can use, or let's say the automation method that you can use to automate that process, right? And then once you have that set up, then it's just a matter of running this automation live and then just doing like some ongoing optimizations to make sure that the data is correct, to really keep tracking the automation moving forward, but everything will happen automatically. And again, as I mentioned, this will save you a lot of time from you, from your team. And then, and also like I've had a client, a CPA firm, an accounting firm, saying to me, okay, like this not only is saving me time, but this is giving me a competitive advantage, right? Because my client, meaning like the CPA firm client, saying that, okay, like my former firm was taking, I don't know, at least 15 days to deliver the report for the previous month, right? And you are sending me in just like one day. And that's a great experience that you can deliver to your client. And again, it's a great competitive advantage, right? So not only you should look at this as a kind of time saving perspective, but also as a way to deliver way better experience to your clients with better and faster reporting back to your clients. Okay, hope this has been helpful. Hope you by now it's a bit more clear about how you can think about in terms of automating the client reporting process. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I will be happy to help you. Thank you.